It was a mayor of Hamilton's home in the past, so that's why it's this particular listing.
Subject, okay.
So that's actual sandstone, like it's true heritage, stands out like no other property in the neighborhood.
Love those like wood floors and the tall ceilings. Like that just makes such a difference. You can actually have, because I for a short period of time rented a 400 square foot or 500 square foot. It was like somewhere between that one bed apartment, but it was 12-foot ceilings, and it just felt so big.
It makes a huge difference. Like I know from my the condo, like downtown Toronto condo days, the difference of a foot of ceiling from even just 8 feet to 9 feet makes it feel massive.
Welcome back to REI Hot Seat. Andrew Hines here with Brad McCrae, and today we are talking about a Hamilton building with a whole lot of upside potential.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so Brad, thanks for doing this, and it's been a little while since we had you on the show, so it's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Yeah, why don't you just give us high level, your elevator pitch. Why should we care about this property?
Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons to care about this property. The first one will be there are multiple different ways to increase the value in the future, as well as get into a property that is in good condition with tenants and cash flow from day one. So those are kind of the two right off the top is you're able to get into a property and cash flow, and then go one of 4 different directions in the future.
Okay, so you can see on the screen that this is a heritage building.
Yes.
And it looks quaint. I see the Barton, street name there, but it's not Barton East, it's Barton West.
That's correct.
So in the historic sort of area.
Correct.
Of Hamilton.
Yeah, that's correct. And the home on it, like if you were to look, even just the neighboring properties here, like it stands out. I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but it was a mayor of Hamilton's home in the past. So that's why it's this particular listing.
Subject, okay.
So that's actual sandstone, like it's true heritage, stands out like no other property in the neighborhood.
And they have a take a book, leave a book.
They have a take a book, leave a book. No idea. We talked to the property manager and it just showed up 1 week since in the past couple of years.
I joke with my wife because she sometimes takes the book and doesn't leave one. So.
That's like take a penny, leave a penny. I don't know if I ever left.
Best
a penny.
of intentions. Yeah. Took the penny.
So the property itself. So there's 5 units, 2 on each floor, and 1 currently in the basement. They're roughly between like 1,000 and 1,200 square feet. I think this was the first time I've walked into a multi-unit residential property in Hamilton and went, "Wow, these units are big." Like the first time in a while.
Well, non-purpose built anyway.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, when you come, these retrofit properties often get chopped right up. But it's nice that they did a nice job with it on a nice looking house like this.
Exactly, and that's one of the ways is you are going to be able to get great tenants because of the size of the units. They're like 10 or more feet, lots of feet ceilings, lots of sunlight going through, and you
Super
don't
appealing.
feel exactly. So you can have those upper echelon tenants if you keep them this way, or if you wanted to cut 1 or 2 or a few of them up into like you're still having 600 square foot 1 bedrooms, which isn't tiny, but it's not. You're able to add that change to the property depending on what the owner wants to do in the future.
Right. Now, the one consideration, like you might be able to do something like that relatively easy on the main floor, but the second floor, that's going to involve more damage for utilities and getting your sanitary and stuff in place.
Correct.
So you could probably do that on the main level. You'd have to kind of work it out, the numbers. Is it worth it? Does it make sense to do that? Add the bathroom, add the kitchen.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when you go and look, if I scroll through here quickly just to the end, like you have a massive parking lot around. Like it's the biggest lot in this street or on this street, and you can kind of see right up at the top here we have a little white pop-up where that's just an unused attic space where it could be easily converted into an additional bedroom for the unit that goes directly to it, because one of the units that's their attic space, or potentially add a little bit more than just that on the top as well.
In zoning wise, is this in a place where you could add more density here?
You can go up to I believe it's 8
units.
Yeah, I'll have to double check. I know you can do more than what's here. You can't do a significant amount because it is still a residential street, but you can have a little bit more density. We looked into it.
Okay, so 5 units currently, potential for some more.
A few more, yeah.
And then also just potential to expand one of the units.
That's correct.
And other upside, have we gone through all of it?
No, so the other upside, so in the basement, that's of course something that we don't have pictured here, but in the basement there are 2 huge empty rooms, and that could be either one of them could be converted to a studio, like like you still have like 12-foot ceilings in the basement, 10-foot ceilings in the basement.
Seriously?
Yeah, like
wow, that's wild.
It's really, really high.
I was not expecting that.
No, and we weren't either. We kind of walked in and went, we expected, because everything else was so spacious, this was like, the basement was going to be this little tiny crawl space. But you could easily add either storage, locker rooms. You could add a studio. It'd probably be like a 600 square feet, 500 square feet studio. You could split that up, be a slightly smaller space.
There's nothing down there now, though, in terms of, is there one unit down there?
So there is one unit. So that's like half of the building is one unit, and the other half is currently, there's a laundry room, HVAC, and then it's just a blank storage.
Open space, which could be the studio apartment.
Exactly, studio,
and
lockers.
access is good down there. There would be egress, like window and such.
Yep, that's correct. So at the back of the property, you have proper stairs that go down. So that is right here in the middle. You have proper stairs that go down, proper drainage, proper coverage. You have your laundry room and everything else through there.
Yeah. There'd already be a window for the bedroom and all that in place?
Yes, there is. So this is the unit that's currently in the basement. This doesn't reflect the height of the other side.
Okay.
So there are, this is a unit, so it's 5 units. This one is not it's not a legal basement unit.
Is that because of the height?
That's because of the height. There's a couple small things that you can do, like it looks shorter than it is. We're almost positive you'd be able to go to the city and just get it, change a couple things, go to the city, get it legalized.
With the need for houses, I feel like there's going to be way more flex on legalizing this stuff.
Exactly. From our understanding, it was at some point in the past, and then just things have changed, and it was no longer grandfathered in.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously that one's not a super, it's not as nice as the other units, but probably based on when they did it. They probably did it like 30, 40 years ago.
Exactly.
But yeah, I love those wood floors and the tall ceilings. That just makes such a difference. You can actually have, because for a short period of time, rented a 400 square foot or 500 square foot. It was somewhere between that 1-bed apartment, but it was 12-foot ceilings, and it just felt so big.
It makes a huge difference. I know from my the condo, downtown Toronto condo days, the difference of a foot of ceiling from 8 feet to 9 feet makes it feel massive, or makes a massive difference. Yeah. So being able to have an additional 3 feet is
the trick in these older houses.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so numbers wise, let's get into the play. What's the full strategy of execution here?
So in here, we do have 4, or so right now, all 5 units are leased. We do have notice from the unit that is currently highlighted here. They will be leaving at the end of July, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Their current rent is just under $1,800, so there's a significant gap between where they're current and where
market.
We think that is market if you don't really do any renovations based on this unit. If you were to put some money into it, we think you might be able to get a little bit more. But if
so,
it's
they
worth
don't all look like the photos that we saw.
So that one would be,
because these look nice already with those floors, but I'm sure there's some
I believe
updates.
it's, so that one, the one that's leaving is this unit here. So it's nice, but you could modernize it. And it's does modernization, putting in your 15K or 10, whatever it is, does that really warrant the increase that you would get in this?
I mean, you show them those pictures, I think you're probably going to get some tenants just because the furniture looks nice.
I know, the furniture looks nice, the greenery, they've done really well with the space that they have.
It's staging 101 right there.
Exactly.
Okay, so, I mean, the rents look decent based on what you have there. You have a 2,300, 2,400, 2,300, and then there's a 13 for the basement. Makes sense.
Yep.
Would you say this is kind of attracting a more professional type tenant? Because one of the things that I learned from Sarah Larby many years ago was you don't want the tenant that wants their forever home.
And that's I was there and I met all the tenants there. And again, this is a property that I'm getting a lot of this hasn't happened in a long time, where everyone is super nice, but it doesn't seem like they're kind of the young professional or early to mid 30s, where
they're going to start a family and move out eventually.
Exactly. I don't get that feeling that this is anyone's forever home here. I don't want to say that just in case, but like you don't get that feeling from the tenants here. Yeah.
And that's the nice thing I've found. Like you make a really nice product, and then you kind of get that kind of tenant that you get a lot of, easily can attract professionals. The lesser nice products, like I feel like families are often willing, the ones looking for a forever home are willing to overlook that for the right space.
Exactly. And that's, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's keep going through these numbers. Look at sort of how it all works out, and kind of down payment you need, what kind of cash flow you can expect.
Yeah. So this is where we're going through, and again, this is the listing price that we'll put here. You can put in whatever numbers you want, doing your own due diligence. Listing price of 1.5. So we have to go residential on the acquisition. So that's kind of the one thing, because the basement unit isn't legal for CMHC. You have to do this, and that would kind of be a first quick strategy. Is like if you just purchase this, go through the legalization process, and turn around.
So you turn around, you can get a DSCR loan.
Exactly, based on a much better amortization and interest rate than what you get for residential.
Okay, yeah. Well, you're at a 30-year, but you're saying under CMHC you're going to go to 40.
Correct, 40-year, and then from 5 to hopefully 4% interest rate.
Right.
Yeah.
So somebody coming in, the big thing to consider here is unless you go private, you're going to be qualifying based on your personal income.
Correct. Yeah.
To do the deal. So you could go private, legalize it, then go and refi it.
Exactly. And now this is one of the other kind of good things about this property that I didn't mention at the beginning is this is a spot where you could go in and live in one of these units and your expenses are basically covered, or your rent is almost nothing. So if you're looking to house hack, this would be a great way to do it, because now with the new mortgage terms where you can go up to $1.5 million on a residential home with less than 20% down because you're living in it. That is another way to get into something like this.
You'd be 10% down on that, right?
Exactly, 10% down. So like there's so many options with this property, and I think that's one of the reasons why we love it so much.
And would you be on residential, you'd be 25-year AM still, or would you be 30?
That is a great question. It's been a while since I've brushed up on that.
On the res side, it's different. Especially with CMHC. It used to be 25, but I remember that there was, I think it might be for first-time home buyers, they can be 30.
Yeah, there was talks about that, and I've spoken with a few mortgage brokers, and they're like, yeah, it's all fine and dandy, but we haven't seen one go through yet. So it's a lot of like, you're waiting to find out, see what happens.
Okay. All right, good to know. And what's the cash flow look like here, and how much are you coming in with to do that?
So let's say we're going at asking price. You're paying for a property manager, and you're paying just I would say like the minimum expenses here. You're looking at a 1.1 debt cover, which is just over $600 a month, and that's with a 25% down. So this is all just being in
based on 25%.
Exactly. Down. This is all just kind of like a baseline where I wouldn't necessarily say it's turnkey in the sense you don't have to do anything, but it's not turnkey and optimized. I would say there's definitely room to improve. Yeah.
That makes sense. So where's the, I know you have the calculation on this you're coming in with about 400,000 then on this one. Coming in 410.
I keep forgetting that you're not looking at the same screen. You're looking at the screen over there. So you're coming in at 400,000 with 400 at, that's 25% down. So your monthly payments here with these numbers, your monthly mortgage payment is about $6,000. So that's where if you were to come in and take and move into one of the units, that's where you're now paying, probably $2,000 or less to live in a home and have a home. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So there's a certain type of person that this deal would make sense for. I think a house hack makes a ton of sense. Yeah. If you can minimize your expense, live somewhere nice, live in a super accessible area of Hamilton.
And that's a few people that have reached out. Like that was their interest. Of a lot of the times the house hack opportunities, we'll call them, are homes that have been carved up, and you have like a 600 square foot, half of one floor, half of another kind of thing.
Yeah, is it all parking lot out back, or is there some like area?
It's all parking lot out back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, is there a shed? Because somebody coming in, we're going to want to store stuff, but you can still store stuff in the basement too.
You could, and there is room. So with the property, we have 10 parking spaces, like within, like that's how many you can have. So you could definitely there's not to like, it's not assigned 10 parking spaces on leases. It's kind of first come, first serve. Everyone gets their own one. So if you came in, you could easily take one or two and put in some stuff for storage.
Well, I'll say like the area this is in, you know, obviously you can get the bus, but having the big parking lot, lots of parking for your tenants, you can hopefully attract a little bit better, more of a well-to-do tenant. You know, better quality tenants, less likely to have problems.
Exactly.
And, you know, so nice building, like it's going to have that charm that people are like, oh, we got to go see it.
And that's what we've had is like a lot of the draw. It's 50-50 when you're wanting to take photos of a tenanted multifamily property because you don't really know how it's going to show inside. And so being able to go through and every single space in the house shows very well. That wasn't even forcing anyone to do anything or doing like cleaning up for them. This is just how they presented it on the day, which is great to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, anything else we need to know about this one, or
No, this is one of those ones like I'm happy to do all the projections and all the different opportunities. I don't have it on this sheet of adding another bedroom in the attic, adding another unit in the basement, doing it as a house hack, or transitioning the basement to a legal unit and going to CMHC. There's all of these different ways that I didn't necessarily project out on this sheet.
Yeah, you could do a bunch of different scenarios.
And it's one of those like I feel like that would just be a little complicated going through quickly, but happy to go through any of those.
Yeah, and that's more of a personal thing. Like what would the position be? Like how would you want to approach it? I mean, with the size of the garage, there might be a potential to add on a unit to the back, just like really tag it onto the building. I used to do that in London. We just add a unit right to the back of the house.
Like an additional dwelling.
I don't know with the zoning, like you'd obviously have to make sure that, but if the zoning allows for it, the only thing is you might end up paying the development charges because you're adding units and it's not an ADU.
And that's like if you can see here, like this is
there would be
from
room.
The back corner. You have a ton of space.
So you could literally, and you can see where those two windows are. You could just put a unit right there, right off the back of that brick structure, and then just be standalone. And hopefully you can tag into the utilities in the basement there. Just go right into the basement wall. So those are kind of some of the things I think about when I look at a building like that. With all that space, you got all that parking, and potential to intensify based on the zoning.
Exactly, and I would say this. It's not it's not so rare you've never seen it before, but you don't come across stuff like this often. And that's why it excited us and our team so much, because of all of the different potentials. It's not you have to be this type of person that wants this type of product for it to work. It's a wide range. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, Brad, I think that's good. Put a bow on this one because I think we covered the key parts. Super cool building, different from what we've been doing. I like that it has charm. I'm a huge fan of that, and I've rented multiple properties myself based on them being like charming older buildings. I liked them. Felt that they would be nice to live in. I think that's a big selling feature here because you don't see a lot of that.
Exactly.
In general, like I just don't see a lot of buildings like that.
And just to kind of add on to that, for someone like yourself that likes the charm and likes everything, in that empty space in the basement is actually a lot of the old, I'm blanking on the word, the stuff that goes up top along where the wall meets the ceiling that would be in the old Victorian homes.
Oh yeah, the crown molding.
The crown molding, thank you. So like there's probably 15 or 20 boards of crown molding in the basement in great condition that were just taken off and left.
Oh yeah.
So for someone that if they want to restore it to what it used to be or as close to as possible, you have the ability to do that.
Well, the old radiators, the old doors, like that stuff. Like, a lot of people want to take it out. No, keep it. Like, it's got so much charm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Well, if you made it this far, we encourage you to please take a moment and join the Insiders Club for REI Hot Seat. You're basically going to have access to deals of the week. You're going to have access to the team if you want to have a call with them. So we highly recommend that you do that. The link is below the YouTube video if you're on YouTube, and if you're on any of the podcast platforms, including Spotify and what have you, it's going to be in your show notes. So join that list. Gets you in touch with the team, and it keeps you on their mailing list so you can get access to these exclusive deals that they have, and as well as there's going to be other gold nuggets in there too.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.